Hello Internet. One question I hear all the time is, what is the best AI agents framework out there currently? Well, and the answer to this is quite simple, I don't know. But the idea here in this video is to give you an introduction to one of these frameworks, which is CrewAI. Now, CrewAI can be installed quite simple with Python, and the great thing here is that the project setup can also be created quite simple, because all you need to do after installing CrewAI is CrewAI, then create crew, and then you just put in the name of the crew, and you basically got this complete setup, including some sample agents already with their configuration, which you can then adjust and adapt. And that's what I'm going to show you. So I already did this here. I created the crew, in this case the project setup, and then the most important, let's say, documents inside here is at first the YAML files, which are the configuration files. At first you have the agents, where you define actually the agent itself. So each agent always has a name. In this case I have gamer here, and this agent has a goal and a backstory. So the goal itself here is provide the best games, game names in this case, so video games, and then I have a backstory, so you're a passionate video game player who knows all about games. In this case actually it should call game like that. And then you have a second one, a storyteller here, and again it's a role here, topic, so it's a game analyst, the topic will be games, and the goal is to create detailed information reports based on the topic, and the backstory, you're a meticulous analyst, and so on and so on. So I just changed the original setting a little bit, because normally you have, I think, a researcher and a data analyst as your basic agents, but I just changed it because I want to try it out myself. So as I said, I have these two agents, and those should work together. So without my intervention, they should talk to each other, and because my process will be sequential, the idea is that at first I have the gamer proposes some games, and then he gives his proposals, so the proposed games, to the storyteller, and the storyteller then uses those games and write his report, so a kind of a story about the games, so what is their content and so on. So this is the idea. Next to the agents, this is where you just define who they are, what their background is, like you have normal persons, right? And then you have tasks. And the tasks are related to the agent. So the task itself, I have a game task in here, and the task has a description, of course. So what should this task actually do? And what is the expected output in this case? So I want to have a list of the best 3 video games ever or in the whole world. So that's the idea. And the agent, there's the link to the configuration of the agent. The agent is the gamer. So the gamer has the task, game task. And the same is true for the storyteller. I have here, again, the task. And you can name this task whatever you like. It doesn't have to be storyteller task and agent storyteller, but you just have to relate them by actually in the configuration by setting the agent, which is storyteller, to this task. And the storyteller, so this name of course needs to be the same in agents, right? So this has to be the same. So if you change it here, you also have to change in the task to link those two together. So these are the configurations. And of course you can have more than 2 agents. In my just simple example, I had 2 agents with 2 tasks. So each agent has 1 task. So next, what you can also provide are tools, because remember, if you have an AI agentic framework, the idea is that you have AI agents. And the definition of an AI agent, at least to me, is that this is not just a simple large language model, but it's a model which has access to tools, as well as also maybe to some kind of RAG system, right? But to more additional information which it can use. And the usage of tools, for instance, should be done or decided by the agent himself. So I should not intervene. I should not tell him use this tool. The agent itself should use it, decide whether he or she needs to use the tool. And the tool can be anything, but most often it is a Python function. And in this case, in the tool section here, tools, I have one custom tool, which in this case is specified by also Pydantic. So Pydantic just specifies that I have a base model here, and this is a field of games, so name of a video game, and then here I also have additional Pydantic class, which is just a list of games, which is the first Pydantic model, which is just a list of video games. So the idea is actually the tool itself. The tool itself here is the game tool, and this game tool retrieves the name of the 3 best video games ever, and then here use the tool when the question about top game come up. So I just say here as a description, it needs to be something where the LLM knows, okay, if a question related to the best video games, for instance, comes up, I need to use this game. So that's the idea behind that. So you should give it a proper description so it's clear when this tool is really useful to the agent. And then you also have done the run method. This is always the same. And then you just put in here what you actually want to return. So this could be anything. You could also call an API, for instance, right? And then return something like, most often something like, what is the current weather information, or what is, if you want to book something, for instance, are there free seats, for instance, you can just call the API and then just return the answer to that, and then you return here this, in this case, as a dictionary. So that's my tool, which I also want to provide to one agent and to be specific to the game agent. Now, the last two files which are important is actually the crew itself, because the crew here specifies one more time what the crew is actually doing and what are the agents. So here, to link the configuration files like agent YAML and task YAML to the crew itself, you can actually use decorators for that. It's also already done here. Add agent, and then you have here the gamer. And the gamer here returns just an agent, which is, in this case, the gamer agent, and this gamer agent has one tool, which is the game tool. So there you actually link everything together in this function here, decorated with the agent, in order also to get the right configuration from here. So just one more time, if you change names, for instance, in here, you also have to make sure that you also change them in the YAML files, because otherwise, of course, you get a mismatch because the agent cannot be found, right? Or at least the configuration for the agent. So one more thing here is that I tested a little bit, and I didn't want to use actually ChatGPT or OpenAI for this case. So what I figured out is that it's also possible to use either open source models for Llama, for instance, or in this case I'm going to use Grok because Grok is quite fast, right? And you can also get a free API key for Grok just to test it. So I went with this, and you just specify here. You also import, by the way, up here. From CrewAI, you can also import agent crew process, but also LLM. That's the main point, because if you import the LLM class, you can then specify here different kinds of LLMs. I think this is based on Light LLM. You can look this up, what kind of models and options are there available. But for instance, Grok, Anthropic, Claude, of course, these are available, but also Ollama, if you want to use the free model. That would also be possible to use it. Yeah. Just need to put in the model and the base URL. In this case, that's for Grok. And then you can use this LLM and just pass it to the agent down there. And to make sure that the right LLM is used and not, for instance, OpenAI in my case. So then I also have here the second agent, also the decorated agent, and then I also have decorated the tasks, which are then the game task and storytelling task, to map again those tasks to the to create the task from the YAML files and also map them here to the specific agents. And then you create the crew. And the crew itself is just, well, the agents with their tasks. So as you can see here, you turn the crew with the agents, with the tasks. The tasks and agents, they are linked together also, I think, regarding the order. So if you, for instance, here, as you can see, I specify first the gamer and then storyteller, and then also for the tasks, if I specify the game task and storytelling task, it's sequential. So the first task is mapped to the first agent, as far as I know. But please feel free to mention something else in the comment section. Then finally, as I said, for the crew, we just specify here the crew itself. They are the crew with the agent, with the task, and then the process is sequential, which means at first the gaming agent needs to be finished, and then secondly the storytelling agent can start his work. And also, if you set verbose to true, you get a lot of information down also in the terminal if you want to have this. And also the agent itself should also then put out a markdown file to write down the information, so what he at the end has then created. So the storytelling agent. So that is actually the idea. And the final or most important thing then to run this whole thing is the main .py file. The main.py file is then here run the crew, and then the inputs, and here is specify the topic. You've seen that topic comes up in the configuration in the YAML file, and here the topic are video games. And then I just kick off the crew with the inputs. In this case, this is dictionary. So please figure out what are the best video games, and then also write stories about those best video games. That's the idea behind that. So that's my crew. This is my AI agent framework with CrewAI. And then you have the various functions which are available by default. You can also, instead of running this, you can train the model first in here. I didn't change that, but this is also available if you set up the crew file, the crew structure of this project. And then there's also a replay function, and there's also a test function, which you can also play around with. And as I said, I did not change these. I only changed, in this case, the end, so the run method, and then the end because I want to run it. So I also added this one here, if done a name, done a main, then call the run method. And if I run this now, let's give it a go. I say, in this case, Python, and then it's main.py in this case, and I'm not sure whether I'm the correct folder currently. I think not. It doesn't look that way, so let's just change this. So this is inside cd source, I think, and then I need to go into Dan crew, cd Dan crew. Let's just see whether I'm in the right folder. I think so. Let's give it a go. So again, Python and then main.py. And then we just wait, and now this gets executed based on, as I said, the Grok Llama 3 billion model, and we just should wait a little bit, and then it should actually start working. And there we go, it gets started, and then you can see, and so on, and so on, and so on. And now the best video games in the world, and then you can see Uncharted, and so on, and so on. And let's just see what I get. And you've seen that during the code execution there are a few, I don't know, a few errors, it looks like that. But still, here, as you can see, light LLM, so some issues here. But if I scroll down to the end, I can see, I hope this meets your requirement, and I also can see the output here. And also the report file, the markdown file was created, so I'm not sure whether this verbose is putting out some additional information which is not required. But let's just see the result. I go to report, and you can see that this is actually what gets outputted by the crew. Now you can see that, as I said, I expected to have 3 outputs actually, which is Uncharted, Witcher, and GTA, because these are the games from the function, so from the tool which I defined, which I considered as the 3 best games. Also, please free to correct me in the comment section. But you can see that then the second agent picked up the 3 game proposals from the game agent, and then he just gets started with writing the story. And you can see there's Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, and so on and so on. There's a story, there's a gameplay, and so on. Then there's Witcher 3, and the same is true here. And then finally, there's Grand Theft Auto 5, which at this point in time, at least, is the latest GTA version. And then there's also story, gameplay, and awards. And this looks quite good to me, actually. I mean, I had 2 agents. Their task was at first to propose 3 video games, which I defined up front in the tool. So I wanted the agent to call the tool and return exactly those 3 games, which I can see here. And then the agent, after returning the 3 games, should actually give these games to the second agent, which in this case is the storyteller, and the storyteller should use the 3 games and write the stories about them. And actually that's what he did. And he also put this then in a final file in here, and I can use this file, for instance, now for my own purposes. Now, this is how actually this framework works. So you can see you can define agents, you can define tasks, you can map this together, you can also extend it with tools, and then you can actually start this and let them do their work, and then figure out or see what the result is. So a few use cases for that, also mentioned from the builders of CrewAI, from the creators, is also for instance, marketing agencies and these kinds of things. So you have, for instance, a market researcher who is researching certain topics, and then he is giving those topics then to an editor, and the editor can then write a story, and then you have maybe also some kind of critic who is then reading the story and then criticizing it and send it back to the editor, and the editor then just rewrites the story based on the critic, and then puts out the final result, for instance, right? So kind of use cases like that, for instance. There are other ones, but this is just one example. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If so, please give it a like. Also, please subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. If you got questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, best guys.